gather around, step out of the blinding sun and into the shadows of our story. I'll be your street storyteller today as we dive into this explainer of the old truths. We're going to unravel a grand, totally unscripted comedy of mortals and spirits. It's really a grim, dark fable about a world that, well, tried to turn itself to stone. Picture a Gothic city square, totally choked by its own rules, where literally every cobblestone is weighed down by cold, unyielding logic. So let's get right into it. We need to lean in here and listen to the hushed, mocking whispers of the spirit siblings. They're watching from the white spaces of the map. You know, those unseen corners of our reality. One spirit leans over the ancient rooftops and whispers to the other, "Look at them down there, sister, building calcified cages for the wind." They see us mortals trying to lack this fluid, ever-changing world into a rigid iron cage of our own design. Chapter 1. The Dungeon of Mind. We start our fable with a figure known only as the Wanderer. Imagine a man descending from the frostbitten crags overlooking this grim city. He walks into the bustling square, carrying the invisible, heavy shroud of the infinite dungeon right within his mind. He's trapped in a prison of his own making, a place built entirely of cold, hard stone and unbending certainty. Picture him standing stiffly in the center of the square. His merciless intellect is working overdrive, trying to map the beautiful chaos of the crowd into precise equations and gray blueprints of social order. While the market around is just exploding with fluttering colors and untamed noise, he is stiff, breathless. He stands there clutching an iron hammer of logic, as if he could take that heavy metal tool and literally nail down the world's fluttering colors into a permanent logical floor. He desperately wants to crush the chaos with cold stone. Chapter 2. Whispers from White Spaces. Unseen by the Wanderer, those spirits' siblings are watching. They sense a world crushed and calcified under the terrifying weight of its own stone-cold rules. They see the folly of these mortals, marching around like automatons, worshipping at the altar of rigid predictability. High above the square, the spirits begin to plot. They view this marketplace not as some grim system of order, but as a stage for a grand, unscripted comedy. The tragedy of forced order ends today, one whispers, sounding like rustling autumn leaves. Let us remind them how to dance. And with that, they descend right into the crowd to shatter the stiffness.
Chapter 3. The Magistrate's Paper Mask.
Our first spirit, the wit, perches unseen upon the grand stone fountain in the center of the square. His trickster eyes act as a distorting mirror focusing straight on the town's great magistrate, who is the very embodiment of this city's oppressive rules. Notice how the magistrate maintains his illusion. He takes these rigid, deliberate steps to project a flawless mask of absolute authority over the square. He holds his chin high, pretending it's carved from granite, all while desperately trying to hide his trembling hands as they grip his official quill. It's a performance of power, but it's as fragile as a dry leaf. And here comes the punchline. A single, echoing ripple of cynical laughter from the wit slices right through the square. Instantly, the illusion breaks. The magistrate's heavy robes and that formidable stone chin are exposed as mere papier-mâché. The terrifying authority figure is suddenly nothing more than a frightened man with trembling hands clutching a feather. The rigid facade of the law is completely shattered. Chapter 4. Ledgers Bleed Black Ink. Now let's move over to the money changer stalls and see how this builds, because the second spirit, the hunger, creeps into the shadows. This is where the true terror for the merchants begins. The money changers are sitting at their heavy oak tables, furiously weaving a rigid tapestry of order out of their ledgers. They completely rely on the cold, hard math of the market. Expected profit, gold owed, silver debts. These columns are literally their religion. It's an ironclad belief that the entire universe can be contained within a perfectly balanced ledger. But the hunger, lurking right beneath the floorboards, finds their rigid expectations incredibly nutritious. Slowly, he reaches out and simply swallows the thread of their logic. Right before their eyes, the neat columns of gold and silver begin to melt. The ink runs. The numbers dissolve into a wet, black slurry of utter nonsense. Absolute panic erupts. The precise math turns into a screaming cacophony. Merchants throw up their hands, crying out, "How did this happen?" They reach into their heavy coin purses, fully expecting the cold reassurance of gold, but instead they pull out handfuls of wet, black ink. Their pockets are literally bleeding ink. The very lifeblood of their rigid system is seeping through their fingers, ruining their fine clothes, and washing their cold logic right away into the gutters. Chapter 5. A Joyous, Messy Scramble. Finally, the third spirit, the small, darts into the fray, weaving right between the legs of the massive draft horses. And the chaotic transition takes full hold. She introduces artful mistakes everywhere. A well-timed collective hiccup ripples through the entire crowd. A massive basket of vibrant red pomegranates spills across the cobblestones, bursting open and creating a delightfully slippery floor. The heavily armored city guards, who were marching in perfect time, hit the fruit and completely abandoned their rigid gait, their arms flailing as they slide across the square like fools on ice. The grim, dark oppression that was choking the city vanishes in an absolute instant. It's replaced by a joyous, messy scramble. The small acts as a sudden, refreshing breeze that reminds a stiff, frozen world exactly how to dance. The tragedy of forced order completely unravels, leaving only vibrant, chaotic, colorful life in its wake.
Chapter 6. The Jester's Wand Awakens.
Now listen closely here. Let the manic energy of the crowd fade into the background for just a moment. Look to the center of the square. There, standing amidst the swirling fruit, the frantic merchants, and the dissolving ledgers, is the Wanderer. As he watches the cold stone of the city's logic melt into absolute farce, he feels the heavy walls of his own internal prison, that infinite dungeon, finally rupture. The blinding, oppressive sun of absolute certainty completely vanishes behind the colorful chaos. And that heavy iron hammer of skepticism he'd been clutching so tightly, he looks down to find it has melted away, replaced in his grip by a lightweight, wooden jester's wand. A profound transformation washes over him. He breathes in the scent of crushed pomegranates and spilled ink. He finally realizes that the marketplace, and honestly his very own life, is not a static, gray blueprint to be mastered. It just can't be nailed down. It's a messy, unscripted improvisation. The ink of life is always wet. The story is forever changing, and he, armed with his new jester's wand, must simply laugh and write the next line. And so, as our fable comes to a close and the spirits fade back into the white spaces of the map, I leave you with this. Look closely at your own hands. Are you going to continue to clutch your heavy iron hammer of certainty, trying to force the world into a gray blueprint? Or will you drop the stone logic, let your ledgers turn to black ink, and boldly step into the messy, joyous, unscripted dance of reality? The choice, my friends, is yours.